Welcome to Movie Mash. Today, we're going to recap a fantasy action movie called Hero. Please don't forget to subscribe for more interesting movie recaps. A nameless man is taken to see the king of Qin in his palace. The man is made to remove his clothes and searched for weapons. He must stay 100 paces away from the king at all times, or else he will be killed instantly. A man named Nameless is being honored for killing 3 dangerous people from the kingdom of Zhao, Sky, Flying Snow, and Broken Sword. Nameless claims to be a law enforcement officer from Qin and shows a silver spearhead that belonged to Sky, whom he says he defeated in a one-on-one fight. The king offers Nameless a big reward, including lots of gold, land, and the chance to have a drink with him. The king wants to know how Nameless was able to beat Sky. We flash back to a chess hall. Some guards from a place called Qin come to arrest a guy named Sky, but he beats them up and tells them to leave. Just as he's about to go, a man named Nameless shows up and says he's also there to arrest Sky. They fight really quickly and it's impressive to watch. To make it even cooler, Nameless hires a blind man to play music while they fight. While they're fighting, Sky and Nameless imagine the fight in their heads. This goes on until the instrument the blind man is playing breaks, and they stop imagining and start fighting for real again. Nameless is so fast that he stabs Sky and the guards see everything that happened. In the current time, Nameless gives the king 2 swords, which belong to Flying Snow and Broken Sword. The king claims that 3 years ago, the 2 of them tried to murder him. Now that he has evidence of their deaths, the king rewards Nameless officially. As a reward for killing Broken Sword and Flying Snow, Nameless receives more gold, more property, and permission to come within 10 steps of the king and share a drink with him. The king is curious about how Nameless managed to defeat the assassins. Nameless reveals that the 2 were romantically involved, but they had a disagreement 3 years prior. In a flashback to a calligraphy school in the Zhao region, Broken Sword is a skilled calligrapher, and Flying Snow is also present. Moon, a young woman who serves Broken Sword, is also in attendance. Nameless hires Broken Sword to create a massive scroll, 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide, the Chinese character for sword. He challenges Broken Sword to come up with the 20th variation. We switch to the king for a moment, who is worried about how difficult the different languages have become. Nameless tells him that sword fighting is similar to calligraphy. In the calligraphy school, while Broken Sword is working on the scroll, the soldiers from Qin launch a sudden attack with a barrage of arrows. It's a stunning visual as countless arrows rain down on the school, piercing walls and killing students. Flying Snow and Nameless exchange a determined look and decide to take action to protect the remaining students. They climb onto the roof and use their skills to deflect the incoming arrows, preventing any further harm. Although many have already perished, they manage to stop any more casualties. The skilled archers of Qin withdraw and set up camp, preparing to resume their attack the following day. Nameless confesses to Broken Sword and Flying Snow that he's a Qin soldier and challenges them to a duel. He buys the scroll from Broken Sword and tells them to meet him at the Qin army encampment the next day. Meanwhile, Broken Sword, aware that the scroll could expose his vulnerabilities, sleeps with Moon, knowing that Flying Snow is watching. In response, Flying Snow kills Broken Sword for his treachery. Moon tries to avenge her master, but Flying Snow defeats her in a breathtaking fight amidst a shower of yellow leaves. The following day, at the Qin army camp, Nameless asks the soldiers to step back so he can fight Flying Snow alone. Despite being emotionally shattered by recent events, Flying Snow engages in battle with Nameless, but he easily triumphs over her. The soldiers watch as Nameless kills Flying Snow. We cut back to the throne room where Nameless and the king stand with strange torches flickering in perfect unison between them. The king expresses disbelief in what Nameless has told him about Broken Sword and Flying Snow. The king thinks they were not emotionally immature and suspects that Nameless may have been working with the assassins all along. The king fears that this was a plot to put Nameless in a position to assassinate him with a powerful technique that Nameless possesses. The king also suspects that Broken Sword and Flying Snow were willing to die for this cause, as they had previously attempted to kill him. In the scenes where the king's version of the story is depicted, everyone wears blue. Nameless meets with Broken Sword and Flying Snow and reveals a technique that can kill anyone within 10 paces of him, claiming he used it to kill Sky. Nameless stomps on the floor as the teacup flies through the air. He jumps around the scrolls at a lightning-fast pace. He is so quick that he manages to save the cup with the tip of his sword before it hits the ground. After a few seconds, all the scrolls around the room break apart. Nameless tells them that he can use this technique to kill the king, but in order to get close enough, he needs to collect the reward for killing them. The following day, as they walk towards the camp, Broken Sword tries to injure Flying Snow. However, she is faster and injures him instead, telling him that she wants him to continue living after she dies. Flying Snow goes to the camp to fight Nameless and dies. Later, at a lake where Broken Sword is mourning Flying Snow, Nameless shows up and they fight. As they engaged in a fierce battle high above the river, their graceful movements and impressive combat skills were a sight to behold as they flew effortlessly through the air. They are evenly matched, but Broken Sword eventually stops fighting, gives his sword to Nameless, and allows him to leave. We return to the throne room where the king explains what happened between Nameless, Broken Sword, Flying Snow's story. Nameless compliments King's perception. King senses danger and asks Nameless' identity. Nameless then proceeds to tell the king the truth about what happened. In scenes with actors dressed in white, Nameless demonstrates his technique for killing anyone within 10 paces. He also demonstrates that he can use this technique to make a non-fatal stab appear lethal, which he did to Sky. Nameless plans to perform this technique on Broken Sword and Flying Snow in public to make it seem like they're dead, giving him the opportunity to kill the king. Flying Snow agrees, but Broken Sword declines. The king is shocked to hear this, but it is the truth. Broken Sword does not want the king to die for reasons that he does not explain. Flying Snow attacks Broken Sword. She accuses him of ruining the opportunity they had to kill the king 3 years ago, and she won't let him ruin this plan as well. Nameless intervenes in the fight enough to distract Broken Sword so that Flying Snow can wound him. With Broken Sword wounded, Moon attacks Nameless, but it is obvious that Nameless is a better fighter, so Broken Sword tells her to stop. The next day, Nameless uses his technique to apparently kill Flying Snow in front of the soldiers. The following day, Broken Sword meets with Nameless and confirms that Flying Snow is safe, allowing the plan to work. However, Broken Sword still pleads with Nameless not to kill the king. When Nameless asks why, Broken Sword writes 2 words in the sand and walks away. In the throne room, the king questions Nameless about the 2 words Broken Sword wrote. Nameless responds with "our land." The king then asks how Nameless planned to assassinate him without a sword, by taking yours. The king realizes that he's defeated, so he takes out his sword and tosses it towards Nameless. The sword plunges into the floor, landing between them. The king then confides in Nameless about the previous attempt on his life that happened 3 years ago. In the final flashback, Broken Sword and Flying Snow battle their way through the palace, defeating countless soldiers to reach the throne room. Once there, Broken Sword duels the king while Flying Snow fends off any guards who try to intervene. Despite the king being a skilled fighter, Broken Sword ultimately emerges victorious. However, as he looks into the king's eyes, he sees something that causes him to spare his life. Flying Snow is taken aback by this decision, and the 2 of them flee the palace. It's unclear what happens to their relationship afterwards. In the throne room, the archers have gathered at the door, but the king knows they can't stop Nameless. Instead, he stands up and turns his back to Nameless, resigned to his fate. He explains that Broken Sword spared him because he understood the king's ultimate goal, to unite all kingdoms and end the suffering caused by endless wars. The king is content to die, knowing that someone like Broken Sword understood his vision, and he believes that others will continue to work towards that goal. As he gazes at the scroll that Broken Sword wrote, the king realizes that the ultimate ideal of swordsmanship is to have no sword. Nameless uses his deadly technique, flies through the air and hits the king in the back with the sword's hilt. Nameless tells the king to remember this lesson, that a ruler must know when to use a sword and when to lay it down. A ruler must know that the goal of swordsmanship is to make peace. Nameless then walks out of the throne room. The guards surround Nameless every step of the way, but they do not attack him. Outside the palace, the old man that Flying Snow recruited as a spy comes running out waving a yellow flag. Flying Snow turns to Broken Sword and accuses him of ruining another assassination. She demands to know what he said to Nameless. Broken Sword tells her it was just 2 words, "our land." Flying Snow doesn't understand what this means. She attacks Broken Sword and they fight. Finally, Broken Sword invites her to attack. When she does, he deliberately drops his sword. She stabs him through the heart and cries, wondering why he didn't block her. She wraps her arms around him from behind, wanting to be with her lover forever. She pushes the sword through both of them. They both die. At the palace, the soldiers are not attacking Nameless because they are waiting for the king's command. The king admires Nameless, but his advisors insist that Nameless must be executed because he tried to kill the king. They believe that executing Nameless will deter others from attempting to harm the king. Although the king agrees with his advisors, he does not want to execute Nameless. However, the advisors keep insisting that the king should execute Nameless. Nameless then leaves the courtyard gates and faces the king, who reluctantly gives the order to shoot him with arrows. Nameless does not resist and is killed. The body of the nameless hero, who was executed for his assassination attempt, was carried as if in a royal funeral, but he was buried with honors. The King of Qin eventually conquered all the kingdoms and united them under his rule. He also oversaw the construction of the Great Wall of China. The closing screen displays the following message. To this day, all the people of China refer to their country as our land. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more interesting recaps.